Well, we have a special guest today I think you'll find to be pretty interesting on a variety of topics. I don't know if we can cover them all today, but we'll touch on them. Delighted to have with us Arthur Alley, who is the founder and the president of the Timothy Plan. He founded this organization in 1994, leading biblically based pro-life, pro-family mutual fund, which in itself is kind of interesting. We'll talk to him briefly about that. And he's also here to help us get a handle on the fact that apparently Bill and Melinda Gates wants to do population control. I think the world is too populated. So we'll get his points of view on that. Arthur, nice to have you with us today.
Hi, Perry.
Good to see you. Where are you? You're looking great.
Orlando. Somebody has to live here.
Okay. Are you getting any effects of Isaac down there?
No. We're right in the center of the state. I think New Orleans is getting a little wet right now.
Yeah. Quickly, give us a little bit of a background. What is the Timothy Plan?
Well, basically, we are a mutual fund family. We operate exactly like every mutual fund in the industry operationally and from a compliance perspective. What makes us different, Perry, is we apply stringent moral screening to which companies we will or will not own. We won't own companies. We will not allow our money managers to invest in companies that are funding the evil side of the spectrum, like abortion, pornography, active promotion of the homosexual agenda. And we're not homophobes. We just will not own companies that are actively promoting that agenda, as well as the production of alcohol, tobacco, and casino gambling.
Wow. And how do you police that? I mean, how do you find out about these companies and do that kind of research?
We have a full-time staff of 4 people that are on that constantly, and you have to dig beneath the surface things that most people wouldn't even be aware of that these companies are funding or directly participating in. And then you have to deal with the mergers and acquisitions and all that to keep up with them. So these people stay pretty busy, but we have by far the most documented, well-researched list of what companies are really up to, publicly traded companies in this nation.
And if people want to talk to you about those kinds of investments, and or maybe do you have a resource available for people to take advantage of your research in these areas?
Oh, we sure. Yeah, we sure do. First, timothyplan.com is the main website. Or if they have any questions, 1-800-TIM-PLAN. They can call us. We are glad to provide them with any information they want. For the professional financial planners, and we deal with about 5,000 of these, mainly Christian planners across the country. They subscribe, a lot of them, to a service that we support called Evaluator, where people with mutual funds can understand where their money really is invested and what they own and how much they own, like in companies that are involved in abortion and the rest. We also have a website, Perry, culturalpolluters.com, where we focus our research on one company every month.
All right, let's come to this other subject, and that is that apparently the Gates now are concerned about population control, which I would assume lends itself towards a very pro-abortion type of agenda, which probably leads right into what you do in helping people with their investments. Why are you concerned about Bill and Melinda's population control?
Well, that's up to them. I mean, clearly they are pursuing an agenda that is far from the basic Judeo-Christian values. But interestingly enough, Microsoft, which is where all his wealth came from, is our cultural polluter company of the month. So people can go to that site and find out what Microsoft is involved in. But the question I would have, and I don't know Bill Gates from a house cat, but the question I would have is how would he feel if he didn't make the cut and was on the other end of this? You know, people trying to control things, and generally people with a lot of money, whether it's population control, radical environmentalism, animal rights, they all fall into the same category. And there's nothing basically wrong with any one of them, but it's not about that. It's about the agenda of trying to control things. And interestingly enough, they're always the ones that are going to be in control. The question I would have for anybody confused about overpopulation of this planet is how can you explain the fact that the 7 billion people on this planet could fit into the city limits of Jacksonville, Florida. That covers every man, woman, and child on Earth can fit in. Now, they'd be shoulder to shoulder, to be sure, but that gives a little perspective on how these people are out there, you know, from global warming to radical environmentalism to the population control and all the rest. And you're right when you said, really, abortion is their ultimate aim, and controlling people is really what their agenda is all about.
Pretty scary. What is the Timothy Plan's perspective then on Microsoft? You touched on it, but go a little deeper there.
Well, they simply are right up with one of the, you know, we screen out, Perry, right at 700 domestic companies, companies in the U.S. that fail our screens for one reason or another, out of the universe of 8,000. And Microsoft fails nearly every screen we have.
Whoa.
So we won't own them. People that invest in Timothy Plan, for example, if you're pro-life, how much money do you want invested in abortion? And the answer, if you're pro-life, is none. If you're not pro-life, it doesn't matter. Well, we're a place they can come, and no, we will not own companies that are involved in those issues.
So back to, say, Microsoft or Bill Gates, I mean, they're so big, they're extremely influential. Have you seen other companies that you have worked with in the past begin to lend itself towards their agenda, and therefore you've pulled investments out?
Oh, that's our list is continually real-time adjusted. Actually, we add companies all the time, but believe it or not, some companies actually stop doing the activity for which we would screen them, and they come off of our screen list. And up to now, until recently, you know, this has been very quiet. It's been in-house. We're not, you know, we're the quiet company. We're not trying to go out and point fingers at people and publish this research. But Perry, it's so late in the day. We are so close to the edge of the cliff, financially, morally, spiritually in America, that we finally determined it's time to start sharing with the public the research that we have. We know what these companies are doing. But up until very recently, we just used that in-house to tell our managers what they could not own.
You know, Art, as bad as things are, and we have to deal with it and start making some very difficult decisions, it also is starting to wake up a lot of people that now they're examining the integrity of who they're doing business with, who they're associated with. I think the last most public thing that we saw was the Chick-fil-A issue, and they
Absolutely.
survived it. I mean, they came out actually stronger. I mean, they had some opposition, don't get me wrong, but the response to the support was incredible. What'd you think of it?
Well, the day of sitting in a corner, wringing our hands, worrying about what the politically correct thing to do is, I think is behind us, because we're finally starting to figure out truth is truth. And if we stand on God's truth, we're going to be standing on a solid rock. And the Dan of Chick-fil-A, bless his heart, simply stood on God's truth, made a statement, and that is an anathema to the people that are on the dark side that really think we're crazy. But we know we're not, and it's time to stand up and be counted. And that includes the church house, because, you know, I talk all over this country about economic problems, and they are massive. But our problem in America really isn't at the doorstep of the White House or the courthouse. It is directly at the doorstep of the church house. If we were doing the things God commanded us to do, this would be a much different country right now.
All right, so the last question, I only got about a minute left. I'm sorry, it's not fair enough to you, but why isn't all of this Christian activity transferring into Monday morning and changing our culture? We have large churches and large numbers going to seminars, but it's not transferring into a cultural change.
I think really I hate to say this, and I'll try not to preach, but it's in the lap of the pastors. The pastors are not leading. If they were leading from a solid biblical perspective, it would be much different.
Okay.
You know, we talk about spiritual things like God and Jesus today.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about the God and Jesus of the Bible. We're talking about one we've redefined to our own.
Yeah. Alan, Art, I got to go. Listen, it's timplan.com.
TimothyPlan.com.
TimothyPlan.com. Okay. Hey, thanks. I appreciate your time. God bless you, and thanks for what you're doing. Okay.